Welcome to this custom deep dive crafted just for you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If you are joining us today, you are probably someone who really appreciates a good mystery.
Absolutely.
But you're also looking for something that goes quite a bit deeper than your standard whodunit.
Right, something with a bit more meat on its bones.
Exactly. You want a story that actually says something profound about the world we live in, about the unspoken rules we all just sort of abide by without even realizing it.
The invisible scripts.
Yes, the invisible scripts. Well, today's deep dive is taking us into a gripping, just incredibly emotionally complex novel. We're looking at the Her One Regret book by Donna Freitas.
It's a heavy one, but so good.
It really is. We have a massive stack of excerpts, character studies, and sociological notes right here. And the mission for today is to explore how this book takes the very familiar structure of a classic missing persons thriller.
The kind we've all read 100 times.
Right. But it uses it as a brilliantly disguised Trojan horse.
Oh, I love that comparison.
Yeah, it sneaks in a very uncomfortable exploration of one of society's absolute ultimate taboos.
Which is a mother regretting having a child.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this because the contrast the author sets up in the opening scene is everything.
It really is a fascinating structural choice by the author, right out of the gate.
Yeah.
By utilizing this fast-paced, high-stakes framework of a thriller, the police tape, the ticking clock, the relentless media circus Freitas is able to unpack intense sociological realities that normally get relegated to like dry academic papers.
Nobody wants to read those on the beach.
Exactly. But here we are looking at gender, identity, and the relentless, almost suffocating cultural pressures surrounding motherhood.
It's a lot.
It forces the reader, and by extension, us, the audience, and you listening right now, to examine our own inherent biases before we even realize what we are doing.
Because we're just distracted by the mystery.
Right. When you wrap a societal critique in a page-turner, people lower their defenses, they come for the mystery, but they end up having to confront their own deeply ingrained prejudices.
I think to really understand how she manipulates our expectations so effectively, we have to start right at the very beginning.
The inciting incident.
The inciting incident.
Yeah.
Let me paint the picture for you. It is a beautiful September afternoon in Narragansett, Rhode Island.
Classic New England setting.
Oh, totally. The sun is shining. There's a slight breeze coming off the water. It's one of those perfect, picturesque late summer days where nothing bad could possibly happen.
Right.
We meet a woman named Lucy Mendoza. She is in the parking lot of Belmont Market, going about the most mundane task imaginable.
Just packing groceries.
Packing groceries into the trunk of her car. She's got the organic greens, the kale, the milk.
Yeah.
And sitting right there in the shopping cart is her 9-month-old baby, Emma.
And we really need to note how the text goes out of its way to establish the physical, tangible bond here.
Yeah, it's not subtle.
No, not at all. Lucy isn't portrayed as distant or cold.
Yeah.
Quite the opposite, actually. She is pressing her lips to the baby's skull. She's breathing in that specific baby scent. Emma is blowing raspberries against her mother's skin, giggling. It's a very tender, very normal scene of domestic life.
It's just a completely average Tuesday or whatever.
Exactly. Freitas is deliberately building up a picture of the quintessential loving mother. She is checking all the boxes of what society deems correct maternal behavior.
Exactly. So Lucy secures Emma in the little plastic seat of the shopping cart. She wedges the wheel against the bumper of the car so it won't roll away.
Safety first.
Right. And she leans in and whispers, "Mommy loves you." And she turns away.
And she just vanishes.
Into thin air, leaving the baby behind.
Yes. A 9-month-old baby left crying, completely alone in a baking parking lot.
Which is horrifying.
It's incredibly jarring. And the immediate aftermath is just chaotic and visceral. Lucy's best friend, Michelle Carvalho, just happens to arrive at the market randomly to do her own shopping.
What are the odds? Right. But it works for the tension. She hears a baby crying, follows the sound, realizes with absolute horror that it's Emma, and she actually drops her own groceries in shock.
The yogurt.
Yes. The author gives us this incredibly vivid, almost jarring image of yogurt spilling and oozing onto the hot black asphalt.
It's such a brilliant detail.
Why do you think she focused on that?
Because that spilled yogurt symbolizes the sudden, messy rupture of this perfectly curated domestic life. It's stark white against the black pavement. It's ruining the picture.
Oh, that's a great point. So Michelle runs over and finds a crowd of concerned women already surrounding the shopping cart.
They're already swarming.
Yeah. One woman has actually plucked a peach from Lucy's abandoned grocery bags and is letting the baby suck on the crushed flesh just to soothe her while they figure out what to do.
What's fascinating here is how the author immediately leverages our societal biases to set the entire mystery in motion.
How so?
Well, look at the immediate assumptions made by the crowd of women, by Michelle, and very shortly after by the police who arrive on the scene. The foundational assumption across the board, without a single second of hesitation, is that Lucy must have been kidnapped.
Right, but I want to push back on that for a second.
Okay.
If you just find an abandoned baby, isn't the most logical Occam's razor explanation that the person simply walked away? Why does everyone's brain immediately jump to a violent abduction?
Because the cultural script dictates that a loving, beautiful, middle-class mother simply does not abandon her baby in a parking lot.
It's just not an option on the menu.
It is unthinkable. The thought that a mother might choose to walk away is so deeply unpalatable, so entirely contrary to our rigid understanding of maternal instinct, that everyone instantly defaults to foul play.
Right.
To believe she walked away means acknowledging that the maternal instinct isn't a universal biological absolute. It means acknowledging that motherhood might not be the ultimate fulfilling destiny for every woman.
And people don't want to go there.
Society cannot handle that truth, so it creates a villain. It creates a phantom kidnapper.
That makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle's brain literally recoils from any other explanation. She frantically tells herself there is a logical explanation for this.
Yeah.
When the police arrive, she doesn't say, "My friend left her baby." She outright asks them, "Did someone take Lucy?"
She needs the kidnapper to exist to protect her worldview.
And to be fair to Michelle and the police, the physical evidence at the scene absolutely supports this terrifying theory. It looks exactly like a crime scene.
Oh, entirely.
Lucy's car keys are gone. The groceries are just sitting there in the trunk getting warm. And then there's the most chilling detail.
The phone.
Yeah. One of the women in the crowd points out a buzzing sound. Lucy's phone, in its pink polka-dotted case, is found vibrating underneath a nearby SUV. She had clearly dropped it. To anyone looking at that scene, it screams struggle. It screams abduction.
And that physical evidence is crucial because it creates a solid, comforting wall of denial for the characters. Yeah, in a twisted way. It allows them to avoid looking at the psychological evidence that might suggest a totally different, much more disturbing narrative.
Because the truth is worse than a kidnapping.
Exactly. Because, as we soon learn, Michelle is actually holding on to a piece of psychological evidence that completely recontextualizes this entire parking lot scene.
She has a secret.
A huge one.
She does. And this secret is absolutely tearing Michelle apart from the inside out.
As it would.
As the hours tick by, the police tape goes up, the helicopter starts circling, and the detectives start asking questions. We get a flashback.
The wine and cheese night.
Yes. We go back to a night, months earlier. Michelle and Lucy were having wine and cheese at Lucy's house, just a typical girls' night. But Lucy had been acting a bit off.
Distant.
Despondent, really,
Mm-hmm.
staring blankly. And then, after a few glasses of wine, she broke down. She'd looked at all the framed, picture-perfect photos of Emma on the living room wall, and she confessed her absolute darkest truth to her best friend.
Which is hard to even say out loud.
She looked at Michelle and said, "I wish I could go back and undo what I've done."
And it's vital to note that this wasn't just a vague, passing complaint about sleep deprivation or the stress of changing diapers.
Right, it wasn't just, "I'm so tired."
The text is very specific here. Lucy explicitly stated that her one regret in life was agreeing to have Emma.
She actually used the word regret.
Yes. She told Michelle that she loved her daughter, but she hated being a mother.
Wow.
She even confessed that she sometimes laid awake at night and fantasized about faking her own kidnapping just to escape her life and start over somewhere entirely new.
Somewhere where no one knows her.
Right. Where no one expects anything from her.
Which, when your friend is currently missing and presumed kidnapped by the police, is a pretty massive, earth-shattering thing to keep to yourself.
It changes the entire context of the crime scene.
Completely.
Yeah.
But I want to dig into Michelle's initial reaction to this confession, back when it actually happened over the wine and cheese.
This is a really important moment.
Michelle is someone who has always wanted to be a mother. Motherhood is her ultimate goal, her joy, her core identity. So when Lucy drops this bomb, Michelle isn't empathetic.
I know.
She is horrified. Her immediate knee-jerk response is to tell Lucy, "You don't mean that."
We really need to analyze that reaction because it is a textbook example of cultural gaslighting.
Can you define that for the listener, just so we're all on the same page?
Sure. Cultural gaslighting happens when society's prevailing narrative is so strong that when an individual expresses a lived experience that contradicts that narrative, they're told their experience isn't real.
Like, you must be crazy to feel that way.
Exactly. The text is highly critical of our collective refusal to let mothers speak their truth. When a mother expresses profound regret, the immediate societal reflex, even from a loving best friend over a glass of wine, is to invalidate her feelings.
Right. Michelle tells Lucy that it's just a phase. She repeats the mantra, this is just right now, it will get better.
It's an attempt to smooth over the intense discomfort. Michelle does this because accepting that Lucy's regret is real and potentially permanent threatens the entire institution of motherhood as Michelle has constructed it in her own mind.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this deep dive? It really challenges you to think about how often we silence the people we love simply because their truth makes us uncomfortable.
We do it all the time.
We really do. Michelle loves Lucy fiercely. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But she couldn't hold space for Lucy's pain because it fundamentally contradicted her own worldview.
And Lucy notices that.
She does. In that flashback, Lucy actually gets angry. She realizes she's being dismissed. She throws a piece of celery across the room and yells, "Why is it so difficult to accept that maybe some women are not cut out for this?"
It's a great line.
Lucy realized in that moment that by telling her truth, she became monstrous, even to her closest confidant. So what did she do? She stopped talking about it. She buried it.
And that enforced silence is exactly what makes the isolation so incredibly dangerous.
It festers.
When you cannot speak your reality without being branded a monster, the psychological pressure builds to a breaking point. Which brings us to a brilliant narrative choice by Donna Freitas.
The pivot.
Right. Just as we, the readers, are trying to process Lucy's disappearance, the abandoned baby, and this shocking secret regret, the book shifts gears. It introduces a parallel reality.
A completely different storyline.
A storyline that operates alongside the thriller plot to show us exactly what that silent, unexpressed regret looks like on a daily, minute-by-minute basis.
Yes, we are introduced to Julia Gallo, and Julia's introduction is incredibly stark and depressing.
It's hard to read.
It is. She is an illustrator. But right now when we meet her, she is sitting in her dark living room, completely numb. She's wearing ratty gym shorts and a tank top with a massive, crusty, spit-up stain on the strap.
Just the physical reality of it.
Yeah. Upstairs, her baby, Theo, is wailing incessantly, just screaming, and Julia simply cannot bring herself to move. She sits frozen, staring at the front door, willing her husband to walk through it.
She's completely disassociated.
She feels this profound dissociation, like she has somehow ended up in the wrong Julia's body.
The contrast Freitas paints between the before Julia and the now Julia is an absolute chasm.
Night and day.
Before the baby, Julia was a vibrant artist, gaining real traction in the publishing world. She loved late summer nights, putting on a strappy dress, sipping cocktails at gallery openings, talking passionately with other illustrators about color palettes and design.
She had a life. She had ambition.
Now she looks at her blank sketch pad and feels absolutely nothing. No inspiration, no desire, no spark. She describes her days as an endless, suffocating fog.
That is so bleak.
She bought into the societal lie that she would just adapt, that the mystical maternal instinct would magically appear the moment she held her baby, but it hasn't. She feels defective. She genuinely believes she lacks the essential gene for motherhood.
And adding to this incredible, crushing psychological weight is her marriage. We really have to talk about her husband, Marcus.
Oh, Marcus.
Yeah, Marcus. He's an academic, a professor, and he loudly claims to be a feminist. He knows all the right buzzwords.
He talks the talk.
Oh, he absolutely talks the talk. But the reality in their home tells a very, very different story. He is constantly using his job, specifically the fact that he is going up for tenure at his university, to completely abandon Julia with the childcare.
He always has an excuse.
Right. He treats his career as essential and hers as a hobby that can be paused indefinitely.
It is a phenomenal textbook depiction of weaponized incompetence and structural inequality within a marriage.
Let's break down what weaponized incompetence actually means here, because it's a term that gets thrown around a lot online now.
Sure. It's not just Marcus being lazy or forgetting to do the laundry. It is a strategic, often subconscious avoidance of domestic labor by pretending to be bad at it or by claiming external obligations are simply too important to ignore.
Like, my 10-year review is more important than your sketchpad.
Precisely. Marcus pushed for this baby. He begged for it. He promised to share the load equally. But once the baby arrived, his life largely continued exactly as normal.
Nothing changed for him.
He goes to the office, he goes to conferences, he gets a full night's sleep. Meanwhile, Julia's life stopped entirely. Because Julia had been breastfeeding initially, Marcus used his biological inability to do so as a blanket excuse to opt out of almost everything else.
It's so infuriating to read. There's this one scene where he comes home late again and finds out that Julia has switched to formula feeding so she can finally reclaim a tiny bit of autonomy over her own body.
And he loses it.
He is appalled. The supposed feminist is appalled. He lectures her, telling her it's just a few months of sacrifice for the good of the child.
He diminishes her suffering because he isn't the one experiencing it. He weaponizes the cultural expectation that a mother must sacrifice everything, including her physical autonomy, for her child.
And Julia fires back with such a raw, desperate line. She says, "And what about what's best for your wife, Marcus? Have you thought about that?"
Such a powerful moment.
She realizes in that argument that the timing for a baby was never going to be right for her career, but she gave in to his pressure. Now she's drowning, and he's standing on the shore criticizing her swimming technique.
That's a great way to put it.
It culminates in this incredibly tense, heartbreaking moment that really pushes the boundaries of how we view mothers. Julia is so desperate, so entirely suffocated by the screaming of the baby and the emotional abandonment by her husband, that she just walks out the front door.
She just leaves.
She leaves the wailing baby alone in the house, grabs the baby monitor, and takes a walk in the pitch dark in her flip-flops. She just needs to breathe. She just needs to feel the cold air on her skin and be alone for 10 minutes.
That walk is an act of sheer, unadulterated desperation. It's what we might call a micro-abandonment.
A micro-abandonment. I like that term.
But society doesn't allow mothers micro-abandonments, and it has immediate, severe consequences.
Oh yeah, it escalates fast.
A neighbor hears the baby crying through the open window. The police are called. Social services gets involved. Julia is immediately penalized, interrogated, and shamed by the state for needing 10 minutes of freedom.
Which just makes everything worse.
Exactly. This intervention only reinforces her deepest, darkest belief that she is a monster. She is trapped in a panopticon of societal judgment where every neighbor, every cop, every social worker is a warden, ensuring she performs her maternal duties flawlessly.
Which is exactly why Julie becomes so incredibly obsessed with Lucy Mendoza on the news.
The parallel tracks connect.
Right. Remember, Julie doesn't know Lucy. She's just watching the coverage of this missing mother from Narragansett on her television. But as she watches, she feels this dark, secret sense of relief and companionship.
She feels seen in a weird way.
As Julia sits in the dark with her sleeping baby, she actually wonders, is it possible to unmother yourself?
That is the core question of the book.
If Lucy actually did what everyone is starting to whisper about, if she faked her kidnapping to escape, Julia almost reveres her.
She sees her as a pioneer.
Exactly. She views Lucy as a trailblazer for finding a way out that doesn't brand her a villain forever. In Julia's mind, a kidnapped mother is a tragic hero. People build shrines for kidnapped mothers.
They hold vigils.
Right. But a mother who simply walks away of her own volition, she is a pariah. She is hunted.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the author is brilliantly using these two women to show two sides of the exact same coin.
The ones who stay and the ones who leave.
Right. Lucy is the regretful mother who, allegedly, enacts the ultimate explosive escape. Julia is the regretful mother who stays, but who is slowly, quietly dying inside the domestic sphere. And as Lucy's secret inevitably leaks to the public because Michelle eventually cracks under the pressure of the police interrogation and reveals the wine and tease confession, we've seen exactly why Julia is so terrified to speak her truth.
The backlash is instantaneous.
The cultural flashpoint that erupts around Lucy is absolutely vicious.
Vicious is almost an understatement. Once the media gets a hold of the rumor that Lucy might have orchestrated her own disappearance specifically to escape her baby, the court of public opinion convenes instantly, and the verdict is guilty.
No trial needed.
Michelle is scrolling through the comment sections on news articles late at night, and it is just a solid wall of vitriol. People are calling Lucy a monster, a witch, a sociopath.
The internet at its worst.
There are hashtags trending on social media. One of them is mother or escaped mother. The public feels utterly personally betrayed. They were ready to light candles for a kidnapped victim, but they want to burn an escaped mother at the stake.
This raises an important question for you as the listener to really sit with and consider. Look at how incredibly quickly society turns a struggling, overwhelmed woman into a symbol of pure evil to be dissected on national television.
It's like a switch flips.
The moment a mother fails to live up to the archetype of selfless, endless devotion, her humanity is entirely stripped away. Notice how the public debate isn't about why a woman might feel this desperate.
Nobody cares about the why.
No one is asking about postpartum depression or lack of structural support or the crushing expectations of modern parenting. The conversation is entirely focused on punishing her for the transgression of not loving her role. It's a witch hunt.
But into this chaotic, screaming media circus steps a really fascinating character named Melody Cho.
She is a great addition to the narrative.
She's a researcher and a podcaster in the universe of the book. And I want to drop a quick behind-the-scenes note here. Donna Freitas has stated that Melody Cho is actually based on the real-life economist and author Emily Oster.
Who writes a lot about data-driven parenting and challenging conventional wisdom.
Yes, exactly. So in the novel, Melody Cho watches this public crucifixion of Lucy Mendoza, and she writes a viral newsletter that completely challenges the public's rampant hypocrisy.
Melody Cho's intervention in the narrative is a brilliant piece of sociological critique delivered right in the middle of a thriller.
She drops some heavy truth bombs.
She really does. She writes this newsletter arguing a very specific point. Society gaslights women twice. Let's break that down.
Yeah, please do.
First, society tells women that their ultimate fulfillment lies in motherhood. If they express doubts or if they choose to remain child-free, they are told they will inevitably regret it.
You'll change your mind when you're older.
Right. They are pushed, prodded, and pressured into motherhood by family, media, and culture. But second, if a woman yields to that immense pressure, has a child, and then realizes it was a mistake and admits that she does regret it, society immediately condemns her.
It's a lose-lose situation.
They tell her she is broken, that her feelings are invalid, that she is a monster. They gaslight her going in, telling her she must do it, and they gaslight her coming out, punishing her for not enjoying it. It's a trap with no exit.
And Melody Cho doesn't just theorize. She asks her readers a very dangerous, incredibly brave question in her newsletter. She asks, has regret even been part of your experience as a mother? Tell me the story of your regret. Anonymously.
She opens the floodgates.
She opens up the floor.
Yeah.
She gives them a safe space. And the responses she reads on her podcast later in the book are devastating. They're a punch to the gut.
Do you have the excerpts?
I do. Listen to these excerpts. One says, I made 3 fatal errors in my life. One was choosing my former partner. The second was having children with him. And the third was having children at all.
Wow.
Another woman writes, I can't stand it being a mother. Can't stand this role. I can say with certainty that yes, if I knew what I know now 3 years ago, I wouldn't have a child.
Now here is where the fiction of the novel bleeds into our actual reality in a very profound, sobering way.
How so?
Those quotes you just read, the ones that sound so raw and heartbreaking, the author, Donna Freitas, reveals in her author's note that she didn't write them.
Wait, really?
She didn't invent that dialogue. She pulled those direct quotes from a real-life, highly controversial sociological study.
Wait, those are real women. Real mothers said those exact words.
Yes. They are from a study conducted by an Israeli sociologist named Orna Donath.
I haven't heard of that.
Donath wrote a groundbreaking book called Regretting Motherhood. She interviewed dozens of women of all different ages, from young mothers with toddlers to grandmothers whose children were fully grown adults.
And what was the criteria?
The criteria for her study was very specific. These had to be women who explicitly loved their children as individuals, but who deeply, fundamentally regretted the decision to become mothers. They regretted the role.
That is such a crucial distinction. Loving the child, but hating the job.
Exactly. And when Donna published her findings in real life, the cultural backlash was immense. People tried to discredit her methodology. They attacked the women she interviewed. They called it unnatural.
Because it threatens the script again.
Because, again, society cannot tolerate the existence of maternal regret. Donna Freitas taking Donath's real-world data and mapping it directly onto the fictional characters of Lucy and Julia is a masterstroke.
It really is.
It forces the reader to realize that this isn't just a sensational plot device for a thriller.
Right. Blending that actual sociological data into the fiction grounds the entire mystery in this devastating reality. It elevates the book from a standard beach read into a really sharp, uncompromising mirror held up to society.
It's confronting.
It tells the reader, you might think Lucy's just a fictional character doing something extreme for plot convenience. But the feelings driving her, the desperation, those are very, very real. And they are everywhere around you.
Precisely. And while this intense sociological debate rages online in the book, and in the minds of characters like Michelle and Julia, we have to remember the mechanics of the thriller plot are still moving forward.
Right. There's still a missing woman.
The police are still actively searching for Lucy, the clock is still ticking, and this is where we really need to pivot and talk about the detective work.
Because the person who actually starts putting the pieces of this massive puzzle together is not the lead detective on the active case.
No, it's not.
Enter Diana Gonzalez. I love this character so much.
She is fantastic.
She is a retired police detective, nearly 70 years old. She lives a very quiet, peaceful life in a coastal town with her wife, Susanna. They do puzzles, they garden, they drink tea.
It sounds idyllic.
But Diana has the mind of a bloodhound. She spent decades working missing persons and special victims, and she cannot let the Lucy Mendoza case go. It's itching at her brain.
She can't turn it off.
There's a fantastic scene where she is sitting on the floor of her living room doing a massive, entirely blue sky jigsaw puzzle with Susanna. But while her hands are moving the cardboard pieces, her brain is buzzing with old case files.
That blue sky puzzle is such a potent metaphor.
I was hoping you'd touch on that.
Think about it, a puzzle with no distinct features, just endless variations of the same color. It perfectly represents all the fragmented, seemingly unconnected, often ignored pieces of missing women cases she's worked on over the decades.
The ones that just bleed together.
Exactly. Women who just blended into the background until they disappeared entirely. Diana is haunted by these women, the ones who were never found or the ones who were found much too late. And her veteran instinct tells her that Lucy's disappearance isn't an isolated incident. She feels in her bones that it is connected to the past.
And so she starts digging into her old files. She starts mapping out connections. Specifically, she connects Lucy's high-profile case to two other missing women from the broader New England area over the last decade.
One is a woman named Joanna D'Angelo.
Right. Now, Joanna was genuinely kidnapped. She was grabbed off the street and held captive in a basement by a predator. But the more crucial connection Diana makes, the one that blows the case wide open, is to a woman named Maeve O'Neill.
We need to spend some time on Maeve, because the story of Maeve O'Neill is the absolute tragic heart of this novel's backstory.
It's devastating.
Years ago, long before Lucy went missing, Maeve was a very young mother. And much like Julia, Maeve felt completely, utterly suffocated by the relentless demands of caring for her toddler, Bridget. She was drowning in the isolation of it.
And what did she do?
One day, Maeve actually did what everyone currently suspects Lucy of doing. She ran away, she packed a bag, walked out the door, and just couldn't take it anymore.
But she didn't stay away, did she?
No. The societal guilt, the cultural conditioning, it ate at her. A few days later, she returned to her family. She tried to force herself back into the mold.
She tried to play the part.
But the internal struggle didn't end just because she came home. The despair was still there. A year later, during a terrible, violent summer storm, Maeve took little Bridget, walked down to the raging ocean, and they both tragically drowned.
It's such a heavy, dreadful part of the book. And everyone in the town, the police included, just assumed it was a terrible accident.
A mother trying to show her kid the waves, and they got swept out.
Or, at worst, perhaps a tragic consequence of Maeve's ongoing, unspoken struggle with severe postpartum depression. Case closed.
But Diana doesn't buy it.
Diana, looking at it years later through the lens of Lucy's disappearance, starts digging into the immediate aftermath of that drowning, and she uncovers a crucial, overlooked detail.
She finds out that Maeve had a best friend, a woman named Rebecca Abrams, who went by Becca.
Becca was the Michelle to Maeve's Lucy.
That's a great parallel. And after the drowning, Becca was absolutely consumed by guilt. She was destroyed by it.
Survivor's guilt, almost.
Yeah. She felt she should have seen the signs. She should have saved Maeve from the crushing weight of motherhood that eventually led her into that freezing water. And shortly after the funeral, Becca Abrams simply vanished.
Just gone.
She left a cryptic note saying she was leaving to start over, and she disappeared off the face of the earth. The police never looked for her because she was an adult who left a note.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because Diana is an incredible, relentless investigator. She doesn't accept that someone just vanishes.
She follows the paper trail.
She tracks the phantom trail of Becca Abrams through public records, financial anomalies, and old contacts. And she figures out that Becca didn't just move. She entirely changed her identity.
She erased herself.
She took her great-grandmother's maiden name, Bressler, and she adopted a new middle name. Rebecca Abrams became Naomi Bressler.
And this is the moment the floor drops out from under the reader.
It's a huge twist.
Because who is Naomi Bressler? She is the warm, empathetic therapist running the postpartum support group that our other struggling mother, Julia, has been attending for months.
It is a massive, incredibly executed twist. The woman helping Julia cope with her maternal regret is the woman who changed her name after her best friend drowned herself and her child.
Which means Naomi is the kidnapper.
Naomi took Lucy. But we have to talk about the expert analysis of this, because her motive is so entirely unique for the thriller genre.
It is entirely unique, and it's deeply tragic. Think about standard thriller motives. Money, revenge, sexual deviance, jealousy.
Right, the usual suspects.
Naomi didn't kidnap Lucy for a ransom. She didn't do it out of malice or because she wanted to steal a baby to raise as her own. Naomi kidnapped Lucy to save her.
To save her by locking her up.
Yes, in her deeply disturbed mind, yes. Naomi's twisted psychology is entirely rooted in her unresolved trauma over failing to save Maeve.
She's trying to rewrite the past.
She became a therapist, she runs these groups, she sits in circles and listens to these women. She hears the absolute unfiltered despair of mothers who regret their lives. She sees the ghost of Maeve in all of them.
That is so eerie.
And when she sees a woman pushed to the absolute brink like Lucy was, she decides to offer them a forced second chance.
A forced second chance.
She kidnaps them to give them a clean break. She removes them from the board entirely, preventing them from ending up dead in the ocean like Maeve. He believes she is providing an escape hatch for women who are trapped by a society that refuses to let them walk away cleanly.
It's chilling, but in this really heartbreaking, misplaced way. Because she isn't torturing Lucy.
No, not physically.
Naomi built a pristine, comfortable, almost spa-like room in her basement. She fed Lucy, she gave her books to read, she gave her quiet space completely away from the demands of her crying baby and her life.
It's a twisted sanctuary.
She essentially forced Lucy into a silent retreat. She forced Lucy to face the void and figure out what she truly, actually wanted without the noise of the world telling her what she should want.
Which brings us to the climax of the book, the resolutions, and how these women ultimately redefine their futures.
Right. So how does it end for Lucy?
Yes, the resolution for Lucy is profound and incredibly nuanced. Thanks to Diana's detective work, Lucy is found alive.
The cavalry arrives.
The police raid Naomi's house. Naomi is arrested, and Lucy is rescued from the basement. But the time spent in that quiet room, separated from the exhausting loop of her daily life and the heavy judgment of the world, forces Lucy into a massive personal epiphany.
She has to confront the truth of her own mind.
And what she realizes is that her regret was real.
It wasn't fake.
It wasn't just a phase, it wasn't just lack of sleep, and it wasn't something Michelle could gaslight away. She legitimately grieved the life she lost, the autonomy she surrendered when she became a mother.
But there's a second part to this.
Yes. In the utter isolation of that basement, stripped of absolutely everything, she realizes a second, equally true thing. Her biggest regret of all would be never seeing her daughter Emma grow up. She misses her baby.
It is a beautiful synthesis of conflicting emotions. The narrative refuses to give us a simple binary.
It allows Lucy to hold two seemingly opposed truths at the exact same time.
Which is very human.
She can deeply mourn the loss of her independence, her old identity, and the freedom she had before having a child. And simultaneously, she can fiercely, deeply love her daughter and want to be the one to raise her.
Society demands that mothers feel only one thing: pure, unadulterated, uncomplicated joy.
But Lucy accepts that she is complex, messy, and feeling both profound grief and profound love. And with that acceptance, with that integration of her shadow self, she chooses to return to her family.
She goes back.
She takes a second chance to live her life, but she's returning on her own terms, knowing her own absolute truth.
And then we look at Julia, because Freitas does not give us a one-size-fits-all neat bow for every character.
No, Julia's path is vastly different from Lucy's.
While Lucy was locked away, having her epiphany, Julia was out in the real world discovering that Naomi, the therapist who made her feel seen and understood, the only person she felt safe with, was actually a traumatized kidnapper keeping a woman hostage right next door.
That is quite the wake-up call.
The shock of this betrayal, combined with the earlier intervention of social services, acts as a massive, violent shakeup for Julia.
But importantly, her wake-up call is not a magical cure.
Right. She doesn't just suddenly love everything.
It's not, oh, I survived a brush with a psychopath and now I magically love being a mother all the time. Julia realizes her regret won't just disappear. The fundamental structure of her life is broken. So she takes drastic, necessary action to fix the structure.
She leaves Marcus.
She finally officially leaves him. The weaponized incompetence, the emotional abandonment, the hollow claims of feminism. She refuses to live with it or accept it anymore.
It's such a triumphant but realistic turn. She establishes a strict, shared custody arrangement with Marcus. She moves into her own separate space.
She reclaims her physical and mental space.
She reclaims her identity as an artist. She actually starts working under a pseudonym, A. Silva, and she starts painting again. She finds her spark because she isn't being smothered 24/7.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Julia's ending is incredibly vital for the listener to absorb. It proves that acknowledging maternal regret is not a death sentence for a family, and it doesn't mean a woman is doomed to a life of misery or child abandonment.
It can actually be the start of healing.
For Julia, speaking her truth and recognizing the reality of her regret becomes the necessary catalyst for restructuring her entire existence. By sharing custody, she finds a workable balance.
She can be two things at once.
She can love Theo fiercely during her weeks with him, being fully present and engaged, while preserving her own identity, her art, and her sanity during her weeks off. She survives, and ultimately thrives, by explicitly rejecting the traditional nuclear family model that was actively suffocating her.
It's such a powerful divergence in their paths. Both women experience profound regret, but they navigate the aftermath so differently.
It's great character work.
And as we start to pull all these threads together, we have to bring in the author's note one last time.
It adds so much weight to the story.
Because after the story ends, Donna Freitas drops the fictional curtain and speaks directly, candidly to the reader about exactly why she wrote this deeply uncomfortable book.
What does she say?
She explains that for years, as a woman, she faced intense, relentless pressure from society to have a child she knew in her gut she didn't want. People constantly told her she would regret not having kids. But she notes that no one ever talked about the flip side.
The fear of regretting the child you do have.
Yes, the terrifying fear of, what if I have one and regret it? She wrote this book for the woman. She was the woman terrified of making an irrevocable mistake because society demanded it.
She wanted to give a voice to that silence.
She wanted to give voice to that unspoken fear, to put that woman on the page, knowing full well it might make people angry or uncomfortable.
It is an incredibly courageous piece of writing. By blending the propulsive conventions of a thriller with rigorous sociological observation and real-world data, Freitas forces the reader to confront their own personal boundaries of empathy.
She holds up a mirror.
It requires us to look at the rigid structures we enforce, the specific emotions we demand women feel, and the heavy, sometimes fatal cost of silencing those who feel differently.
So as we wrap up this journey, let's synthesize what we've explored today. This deep dive into the Her One Regret book by Donna Freitas isn't just a commentary on the mechanics of motherhood.
It's so much broader than that.
It's a much broader, urgent warning about the immense danger of forcing people into rigid societal scripts. When we demand that people follow a designated path and then demand they perform perfect happiness while walking it, we cause immense psychological damage.
It's unsustainable.
Refusing to let people speak their complicated, messy truths doesn't make those truths magically go away. It just forces them into the shadows, where they mutate into despair, isolation, or, in Naomi's fictional case, dangerous, misguided obsession.
I think the most calming, grounding takeaway here is the absolute value of critical thinking.
Tell me more about that.
When we consume media narratives about perfect victims or monstrous mothers or ideal families, we have to hit pause. We have to actively question the framework. Why is society demanding this specific emotional performance right now?
Right. Who is benefiting from this?
Who actually benefits from this harsh judgment? By applying critical thinking to our own biases and by recognizing the cultural gaslighting around us, we make room for the nuanced, contradictory realities of actual human beings.
Exactly. We make room for grace. And I want to leave you, the listener, with a final, lingering question to mull over as you go about the rest of your day.
A provocative thought?
We've focused entirely on motherhood here because that is the specific taboo at the center of the novel. But take a look at your own life, your own choices, and the culture around you. What other major life milestones are we culturally forbidden from regretting?
Oh, that's a great question.
Getting married, choosing a highly esteemed, lucrative career path, buying a house and settling down in the suburbs. We celebrate these things as undeniable, universal victories. But what would happen if we normalized looking at those massive life-altering choices and saying, I did exactly what I was supposed to do, I checked all the boxes, and I wish I hadn't?
Just imagine the freedom in that.
Exactly. How much freedom, how much relief might we find on the other side of that honesty?
It's definitely something to think about.
Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. Keep questioning the narratives, keep exploring the messy truths, and we'll catch you on the next one.